What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here to give you my favorite NFL player prop picks. We are talking Monday Night Football, Vikings versus Bears. I'm going to have one official player prop for you guys to lock in, and then I'm going to have a couple leans for you guys as well. So instead of playing this a little bit heavily, because week one is always a little bit weird, I try to be safe, especially with these standalone games. You don't want to go too heavy on them, be wrong, and then just be totally effed. So just the one official play that I do like quite a bit. Before we get into that, so I'm going to recap each week after the week is over. So I can tell you right now, I'm recording this before the games on Sunday have finished. Friday was good. Thursday was completely break even, and then we'll see how things go on Sunday. But I can tell you last year, and I'm not going to tell you about last year this entire season because it doesn't help everybody now, but last year was very, very good. Up 44 units on the my NFL player props last year, up just under 19% ROI. Climbed a lot of ladders, played a lot of plus money bangers. We're hoping that we can have similar success. As far as this Monday Night Football goes, what you see on the screen here is Props Madness, my favorite tool for everything that I play for the NFL. Currently, this product is in beta, but it's good right now, and it's only going to get better. So if you want to check them out, I put a link to them in the description of the video. The play that we're locking in here is Jordan Mason, and I'm taking him 40 plus rushing yards, plus 105 odds at Hard Rock. So technically, the main line at Hard Rock is 36.5. To me, I think it makes a lot more sense to just take that number 3 yards higher, get the pretty decently better odds. You go from minus 115 to plus 105. Now, I understand that not everybody can use Hard Rock, and if you cannot use them, BetMGM, which for whatever reason is not listed here, you can get 36.5 at minus 115 at BetMGM. So if you cannot use Hard Rock, that play at BetMGM would be my pivot, but my official play here is the one at Hard Rock. So let's talk about it. Jordan Mason, really what we're talking about here, I think this line is really just too low. There are some situations where we're backing a player or we're fading a team or anything like that. This really just goes into the category of I think this line is way too low. They're pricing Jordan Mason at 36, 40 plus for plus money, where Aaron Jones is at 50 yards. So I think Aaron Jones is going to have a little bit of a bigger workload than Jordan Mason. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think Jones is going to come a little bit more in the receiving work. Now, you could always go receiving yards for Aaron Jones Sr., but I think it's going to be Jordan Mason rushing. I think they're going to split the workload pretty evenly. And Jordan Mason, you really can't look at how things went last year. Granted, it would be good for us if we did, because he hit it the over in 8 of 12 games. In the 4 games he missed, you look at his snap count here, 16%, 5%, 3%, 18%. He was hurt, and he technically was active, but he barely played. Then he came back, played over 50% of the snaps, cashed the over. Then he got hurt, missed the year. When he cashed at the beginning of the year, 86% of the snaps, 28%, he actually got hurt in this game, but cashed it on a long run. 64, 75. Like, he's not going to play that type of snap count. I'm expecting about half the snaps for Jordan Mason, and I'm expecting 12 to 15 carries. And asking him to get 40 yards on 12 to 15 carries, I think is completely reasonable. We're not asking him, I'm not laddering him up to 50 or taking him, juicy ladder climb or anything like that. It's a play that I think is too low. And last year, the Bears' run defense was an abomination. Now, they have a different coaching staff, so I understand that it's not perfect. A lot of the personnel is the same. And to go off of last year, I'm looking at fantasy points, which I used. It's behind a paywall, but I used for a lot of like super nerdy advanced stats. The Bears gave up the 5th most rushing yards per game. They gave up the 4th most rushing yards per carry, and their stuff rate, which is just a percentage of run plays that is quote-unquote considered a stuff. A stuff is anything that goes for not a touchdown or first down, goes for less than 4 yards on first down and less than 3 yards on any other down. The Bears had the 4th lowest stuff rate in the entire NFL. So this is all to say they're a bad run defense. Another stat that I like to look at is called adjusted yards before contact. So the reason why I say it's adjusted is because it removes QB scrambles, removes kneels, removes wide receiver end arounds, basically any type of trick play. It just looks at a standard run play. And what team gave up the most yards before contact? That would be your Chicago Bears, which is basically showing you they allowed the offensive line to get a pretty heavy push and allow the running back to run against them pretty far before getting contacted. And I like this Vikings offense. I like this Vikings offensive coaching staff. They play pretty on schedule. Like, they do a good job not getting themselves into third and long, into obvious passing downs as much as they can. They have a lot of answers for a lot of different type of plays. And I think that they traded for Jordan Mason with a role for him in mind, which is going to be a lot of the strictly running work. So I'm talking like not third and long. I'm not talking anything in the receiving game. Just first and second down or anything on short yardage, I think is going to go to Jordan Mason. And I think this 40 number is really low. I mentioned I like this Vikings offense. You know, they fantasy points also grades. They grade offensive lines. They gave the Vikings the 6th best rush grade in the entire NFL. So they generally thought that the Vikings did a good job with their offensive line and their running grade. And that was without the Vikings left tackle for the majority of the year. I mean, maybe he got hurt towards the first half of the year, or maybe towards the middle. But either way, they're getting him back. He looks good. It's a good offensive line for the Vikings. So I think that there's a lot of reasons to like this Jordan Mason play. And again, the coaching staff for the Bears is different. I can say that Dennis Allen is the Bears' new defensive coordinator. He was previously with the Saints. He was their head coach. And before that, he was the defensive coordinator under Sean Payton. When he was DC, they had a good run defense. When he was head coach, they had a bad run defense. So this is all to say it's an unknown in terms of what the matchup is like. I just like the number that I simply am defining it as too low. This is a simply too low type of play for Jordan Mason. So that is play number 1. And my only official play, it's Jordan Mason, 40 plus rushing yards, plus 105 odds at Hard Rock. And then again, if you cannot use Hard Rock, over 36.5, minus 115 odds at BetMGM. Now, that's my only official play. I do have a couple leans for you guys, and one of them is backing DeAndre Swift, but it's actually backing him out of the receiving game. So over 14.5 receiving yards. Technically, the best offered price is at Hard Rock at minus 110, but you can also get minus 114 at FanDuel for the same number. On the Bears, he hit this in 10 of 17 games. Granted, that was a different coaching staff, but still, he did a pretty good job in the receiving game. Obviously, 14.5 is a really, really low number. And you think about Ben Johnson, he did a really good job getting the running backs involved in the receiving game last year. Even David Montgomery consistently went over his receiving prop last year. And then we obviously know Jahmyr Gibbs is used pretty well. And when you think about what roles are the current Bears running backs going to have that match previous Lions running backs, DeAndre Swift is going to be in the scat back Jahmyr Gibbs type of role. Now, Swift obviously isn't nearly as good or explosive as Gibbs, but the strength of Swift is his athletic ability in the open field. He does not do a good job running through tackles. Like, he's not a good pure running back. He's not good at setting up blocks, hitting the holes, being patient, stuff like that. But you get him the ball in space, and he's pretty electric. And that's what Ben Johnson is going to do with DeAndre Swift. So I do think that he's going to end up having a pretty good receiving game. And this Vikings run defense is very good. Last year, the Vikings allowed the 2nd fewest rushing yards per game. They allowed the 4th fewest rushing yards per carry. They had their stuff rate was the 8th best in the NFL, and adjusted yards before contact, they were like 8th or 9th down here. So very good run defense. Teams could not run on them. So what do you do? And also, the next thing I want to say is the Vikings have a very high blitz rate under Brian Flores. One way to beat the blitz, running back screen or a check down or like a swing route to the running back, stuff like that. So I think 14.5 is pretty low for DeAndre Swift. That is my the second play that I want to talk about, my first lean. And then the next lean that I have is also in the receiving yards, but it's backing TJ Hockenson. Now, there's a little bit too much unknown for me to make this an official play. Like, if I was ranking them, obviously Mason's my favorite. That's my only official play, with Swift as my second favorite. Hawkinson's definitely a distant third. So maybe you want to put a same game parlay with Jordan Mason rushing, DeAndre Swift receiving, and Hockenson receiving. You'd use one of those boosts out there. I don't think that's a terrible idea. But what I like about Hockenson is last year, he came back from a devastating knee injury the year before. I mean, he shredded his knee. His first game was in November. He only played 45% of the snaps. You take that game out, he hit in 6 of 10 games. He averaged 49 receiving yards per game. That's pretty good for a number that's only 41.5. And Jordan Addison is out for this game. He's out for the first 3 games. Now, Adam Thielen might take some work from Hockenson, which is a concern. This is J.J. McCarthy's first game as a starting quarterback. That's a concern. And it's a new defense that maybe ends up scheming some stuff up for the Bears that we're not expecting. So there were too many unknowns for me to officially go with this play. But 41.5 is a low number that he consistently went over last year. The year before he got hurt, 13 of 15 games, he went over this number. Now, you want to say that was with Kirk Cousins up until Kirk got hurt. Sometime around this year, Kirk got hurt up until Hockenson got hurt in December. Sure, that's fine. But obviously, he pretty consistently went over. And that was with Addison and Justin Jefferson. Even in the games that Justin Jefferson played, it was still over in 6 of 8 with Justin Jefferson. So I think this number is just a little bit too low. You think that a tight end could be a safety valve for the new quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, taking his first NFL snap. So I don't hate the Hockenson one. But to recap, and then we'll get on out of here, my first and only official play here is this Jordan Mason rushing yards. And then leans was DeAndre Swift receiving, and it was Hockenson receiving. But that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe. Check out Props Madness if you want. I put a link to them in the description of the video. I put a link to my Tails account as well, which is just where I send plays out. Everything that I'm on, I will first send out to Tails. So if you want to take the same thing that I'm playing, but you don't want to watch the videos or you don't care about the videos or whatever, I recommend people go to the Tails so you can still play everything that I'm playing. But again, that's all we got. Appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and have a good one.